because we've been struggling for so many years. Coming out of COVID was such a huge change. And you just get back on your feet. You just sort of get back to some normalcy. And then the governor decides they want to pay $20 an hour to minimum wage employees.
Welcome to the Self-Insurance Podcast, brought to you by CRMBC. Every week, we're interviewing industry experts, restaurant operators, and brokers to talk about the world of workers' comp self-insurance in California. Welcome to the Self-Insurance Podcast. Hi, my name is Kaya Stanley, and I'm the CEO of CRMBC, California's only restaurant workers' comp self-insured group. I'm so excited to be joined today by Lisa Nilmeier, the Chief Administrative Officer and General Counsel for Milano Restaurant Group. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Kaya. Happy to be here.
So the purpose of this podcast is that restaurant operators often get stuck in the weeds with just looking at menu or labor or food costs. And one of the benefits of being in a self-insured group like CRMBC is we have some great operators that share best practices and share, tips about their operation. And that's what Lisa's here to talk about today, because she is part of a very successful, amazing restaurant group based in Fresno, called Milano Restaurant Group, and you've got pizza, you've got some bar type restaurants, you've got some kind of upper scale, and you've got 49 locations open, but you are looking at opening one more this summer, it looks like, right?
That's correct.
Tell us about your experience and how you got to be part of Milano Restaurant Group.
Well, that's a very good question, actually. It started my career. I'm a lawyer. Passed the bar many, many years ago, went into private practice for a few years, then decided to go in-house and ended up going into the television business for 15 years and ran a private school as their president and CEO for several years. And then the senior management here was looking for, not necessarily looking for me, my experience, but I kind of sold them on me, I think, and ended up coming aboard about almost 9 years ago now, and it's been a really great growth experience, even at my age. I continue to learn and grow, and the restaurant business was something brand new, but the funny part is so much of what we do in our business life, it mirrors another business, even regardless of one's pizza and one's a TV group. So it's very interesting.
And one of the things that we share in common is I'm also an attorney, and I was general counsel for a pizza franchise as well. Not as long as you were. I was 6 years with Marco's Pizza. And we do, as general counsel for a restaurant group, we wear every hat. We're not just general counsel. We end up being their everything. We end up being HR. We end up being workers' compensation, administration, and you are living that life right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, you touch a little bit of everything for sure.
It's fun.
It keeps it entertaining, right? And fun. A little frustrating, but of course.
Name off some of the brands that you guys have for us.
Well, we have Me and Ed's as our flagship, obviously. It's been around almost, I think we're on 65 years or maybe 66 years this year. Started out with original family members of the current CEO and COO. And then we expanded our business and opened up Piazza del Pane. Gosh, that's been a long time ago now too. Kind of a upscale, a little more finer dining than the pizza joints. And our newest brand is Blast and Brew, which we have 4 locations at the moment, and a couple of franchisees as well. So that's kind of it's a pretty cool concept. You got the self-pour beer taps and lots of, small plates and all that stuff. So we have fun with that one too.
And the reason that I invited you to talk to us today is because you guys are well known as being phenomenal operators. And so you're seeing a lot of things that I think other operators want to know about, how you're handling this or that. And so I wanted to touch on a couple of the hot topics that you guys are facing right now. First is minimum wage. there's a lot of people that are completely freaking out about this, and we get that it has a steamroll effect on a lot of different parts of your business. So my first question for you is, how are you guys looking at minimum wage? What strategies are you implementing, and are you freaking out?
It's kind of, we have been freaking out. It's been sort of an ongoing, it's kind of a, what do you call it when you reach a time and you just go, wow, this is like when the moon and the sun collide and you're going, what is happening? Because we've been struggling for so many years. Coming out of COVID was such a huge change. And you just get back on your feet and you just sort of get back to some normalcy. And then the governor decides they want to pay 20 bucks an hour to minimum wage employees. And in our case, our employees are a lot of them are first time employees. This is a great job for some kid, right? Really hard for us to understand why we have to do that. And we're exempt because we don't have 60 or more, or whatever the rule is at the moment. I think they need to clarify that, but we're exempt from that, but that doesn't mean the expectation isn't there that we're going to do it, because then they'll just go to McDonald's or they'll go to the, In-N-Out or wherever to get the 20 bucks an hour. But it also causes that whole wage compression, and our managers expect more, and just this very odd dynamic right now. I just don't know what to expect, and I don't, how much more will people pay for a pizza?
Right.
Right. And we're seeing it also in work comp too, because when the payroll goes up, the claims, the rate goes up because the amount we pay in disability goes up. So it really is the steamroll effect that's impacting so many other aspects of our businesses.
Yeah, our payroll numbers are going to be really big, right? It's just, I don't even know what to anticipate. And then, you combine it with this Gen Z, who are a whole different variety of first-time employees, and their expectations are off the chart because they think they're entitled to that, and then don't have to really work that hard for it. So, and no offense, we have some great young people working for us, but it's just been an interesting experience with this new group.
Have you had have you guys implemented any strategies that around this, or are you still just kind of trying to figure it out?
Well, I think we need to become smarter about it, because we were hiring people that were first-time employees. We just hired everybody. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just that I think we need to be a little more attentive to who we're hiring now, because the turnover rate in restaurant industry is pretty high, and I think we need to find people that are just, I think we need to spend a little more time hiring and looking at them and asking questions, and that involves training managers, I think, a little more, and kind of so they understand how to go about it. Our managers, they're all busy because we've got them working like crazy, and the hiring process is sort of a afterthought. And I think we're trying to focus more on better hires.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk about the other most painful thing that seems to be impacting California restaurant owners right now is PAGA. I know that you guys are dealing with some big PAGA claims right now. For people that don't know, it's a very painful lawsuit that gives anyone standing to stand in the shoes of the attorney general and sue, even if they weren't directly injured by what they're suing for. So it's there's a lot of reform that we are supporting around this law. But talk to us a little bit about your PAGA experience.
Well, we've noticed a kind of an uptick, and I think we've associated it with, what happened in COVID and what was going on during that time. The environment was completely different. Employees were, working hard and making money, and there were those that weren't. The other ones were collecting, sick pay or whatever it was. And it seemed like it was just quiet. And of course, we were also busy with COVID. I think that things kind of quieted down, but we have certainly seen an uptick in complaints, or lawyers sending letter requesting, copies of the personnel file and payroll records. They'll do a little research, determine whether it's worth it or not, move on. But the cost to us as employers is outrageous. And
Yeah.
um, interestingly enough, the people that are filing the complaints, the plaintiffs in the case, don't really get the money. It all goes to the lawyers. So the lawyers are happy to shop and get a little money. I
Right.
just learned yesterday from one of our outside counsel that there's sole practitioners out of the LA area that are finding employees to do this. And then they just test the market and then they assign it to a bigger firm and just get a referral on it. And they're all making money. But really the reality is PAGA isn't doing it's what it was meant to do. And
Right.
and then you're dealing with the state and the government and trying to get things done is impossible anyway. So it's really frustrating. And your hope is you can mediate and settle it quickly because there's so many things you think you do right. And there's one thing that you may not that could kill.
Right.
Well, speaking of which, if now that you've been down this road for a little bit, are there a couple of things that you wish you did differently that you know now that you didn't even realize? Like what are the things that you've learned that now you can protect yourself moving forward?
I think the hot button is the records you keep for your meal and break violations. Um, you can have a waiver all you want, and they'll say, "Yeah, I waived it," but if there is not a document supporting any of that, so now we've got this whole big thing that we rolled out on the POS systems that requires them to go through this checklist. I don't know if you're familiar with that lawsuit from a few years ago, but or it's been recommended and it's been just a 4-month process that I think we're finally at the place where uh, we can see it and feel it and touch it and it's working. It frustrates
Hmm.
the heck out of our employees because it's just one more thing they have to do that they don't want to do. But sadly, it's what we have in order for us to protect ourselves, is what we have to do. So that's the biggest one right there, probably, is really, you got to educate your managers and make sure they understand, the meal and break violations because they are costly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there's we're hearing a lot more about cybersecurity. Is that on your radar yet?
Yeah, it is, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And that seems to be running rampant as well. Has that happened recently in your world?
Yes, and I was talking to someone earlier today, in fact, about how cybersecurity originally, they were going after big companies like American Airlines or big companies, but now they're focused on getting smaller wins. So getting 10,000 here, 20,000 here. So now cybersecurity for restaurants is not something that I think was on anyone's radar to even be concerned about. But because we can't in our restaurants, we're restaurant owners too, we can't be down for a week while we wait for, to get that sorted. If they, like your point about the POS system, if they were to do something that shut down your POS system, we can't afford a downtime for that.
No, and I've really had an educational experience recently with that. Because it wasn't on our radar either, but we have had some issues and we've been talking to consultants in the area about doing monitoring just to keep the bad guys at bay. Everybody calls them that, which I think is funny.
Right.
But yeah, they would do 24/7 monitoring and it's not cheap though. So I don't know how I don't know how you stay ahead of the game. It feels like just when we fix something, something new happens, another issue, and then you compound it with
Right.
this $20 an hour and you're like, are you trying to run the restaurateurs out of the business or what?
Right. It is very frustrating and disheartening. And we try to stay on top of at least the legislature, and we're very active with the California Restaurant Association and all the different lobbyists that are working on these issues, because it really is frustrating. That your point about PAGA is really well taken, that I don't know that people even realize that this is happening, that the plaintiff, the employee, doesn't get any of this money. It's really just a game that trial attorneys are playing.
horrible. And it's ex-employees, that are usually mad at you that are
Right.
willing to do this, right? But
Right.
they only work part-time, and I mean, it's ridiculous. They only worked a year and you're going, and they're going to do this for you? I don't think
Hmm.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something everybody really needs to be, uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And so you guys, so you also, like we said earlier, you wear all the hats. You're in our group now. You're now a member of a workers' comp self-insured group, and you guys are take your workers' comp very seriously. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy on how you guys handle workers' comp claims in Milano Group.
well, we are very hands-on from the senior officers all the way down. We do not, take it lightly at all. We have a pretty strict program in place that, injuries need to be reported immediately. We report them immediately to you. We don't make decisions if it's a first aid and not to worry about it. We do really report them all. And we have a great relationship, which I think is the most important thing in this relationship we have with you now, with our adjusters. I think it's really nice that they reach out and there's good communication, because some of this is we've had such interesting cases, in recent years, but they kind of hold our hand for a lot of this. It's like, help, what do we do now? And, so it's been really helpful to have that sort of direct connection instead of having to go through all the steps that we had in years past.
And as a lawyer, you are all too familiar that it's how the employee is treated in that first day, the first 24 hours. Yeah, that can make all the difference if it becomes litigated or if it gets resolved quickly.
Yeah, and we really do. I mean, obviously, we want the best interest of our employees. Fortunately, we haven't had a lot of horrible injuries, but, we do want to make sure they're treated properly, and we have to stay on top of that too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lisa, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. And to our audience, if there's any other topics that you'd like us to talk about, or if you have any questions, just email us at info@crmbc.com. And Lisa, thank you for joining us.
thank you, Kaya. It's been a pleasure.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for the Self Insurance Podcast, brought to you by CRMBC. If there's a topic you'd like to learn more about, or if you have any questions, just email us at info@crmbc.com. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and join us again next week for more tips on self-insurance.